Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, the missing phone line, with special guest appearance by a server rack of exactly the expected height. How dare you give me free cancer? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. The missing phone line, with special guest appearance by a server rack of exactly the expected height. Trigger warning: my last Reddit post dealt mainly with some people who were mind-numbingly dishonest, and of whom I had a surprisingly poor opinion. This post will cover some of the same territory, but also venture into the more controversial topics of folks who are A. Bullies, B. Eye-wateringly inept, C. Some combination of A and B, or D. Attempting to cover up any of the above by feigning the lesser ills of ignorance and laziness. If you don't want to know what I think of such people, look away now. Additional trigger warning: this is a long post. That's partly because I feel it's the best way to convey the essential nuance of the story, but also because I had to go through this sh*t in real time, and you lot don't deserve much better. Introducing characters as they appear seemed to work okay last time, so I'll do it that way again. Buckle up. Many years back I worked for XYZ Incorporated. They made specialist and expensive production machines for a particular type of industry. This story takes place a few years after the start of my last post, and XYZ Incorporated's biggest job in hand was fitting out a new manufacturing plant for a particular customer. We'll call them ABC Corporation. To give a flavor of the scope here, just phase 1 of this factory took 18 months of work after the order was placed, and XYZ Incorporated's direct billing ran well into 8 figures, and we also specified for ABC Corporation to buy a similar value of other manufacturers' machinery so that it could work directly with ours. There was over $500,000 in conveyor belts alone. You might think that meant we were in charge of the whole thing, but we weren't. ABC Corporation wanted to keep control and economize by using their own people where possible, so they ran it themselves, and as well as being the customer, they acted as project managers and liaison between the architects, builders, machinery and plant suppliers, fitting trades, etc. etc. Not a problem as far as we at XYZ Incorporated were concerned. We sold the job to a specification, we wrote the contract to define that specification, and we will have no problem delivering on all the promises made therein. Exactly as promised. Oh, but if you want to change that specification after the fact, there'll be a bill for doing it. As far as we're concerned, feature creep means Uncle Fester. And if we're working away, and then unexpectedly find that whatever it is of yours we need to connect to, incorporate, or work around isn't ready on schedule, isn't to spec, or is some new and exciting spec we didn't agree to, progress will stop and you'll get an even bigger bill. And the definition of yours is anything we don't supply, because you're managing this sh*, though, not us. Did I mention the project manager? ABC Corp's pick for this role was the talent they'd already recruited to be plant manager at the new factory when the place started running. Makes sense. You'd think who else could possibly be more motivated to make their own life easier by delivering the best built, most efficient new factory imaginable? And having done that, who would then also be an in-house expert on every part of the facility, able to troubleshoot production issues as soon as they came up? Well, I don't know what guidance ABC Corporation had given the recruitment agent into the kind of person they wanted, but it must have made fascinating reading. In the collective opinion of XYZ Incorporated's people on the ground, the individual selected for this prestigious role had precisely 2 skills. 1. Shouting, and 2. Lying. And frankly, they weren't much good at the second one. But I digress. Part of this job was a factory data collection and analysis system. All the machines in the building had at least some level of onboard intelligence, and every single one was going to have an Ethernet connection to a data collection server. That server would monitor what happened throughout the factory second by second, and then produce a range of standard and custom reports. Not a cheap option to add on a factory of this size, but numbers never lie. So if you've got good people looking at those numbers, any system like this that never misses the detail can be an amazing tool to keep that place running efficiently and spot future issues while they're still small. F*CK knows what ABC Corporation thought project manager was going to do with it. Part of the deal with this thing was that XYZ Incorporated also got to see the data. That way we can learn from it and incorporates those lessons in our next generation of machines to make them better. And if ABC Corporation felt they had some complaint about our product, the data system was there to tell the whole unvarnished story as to whether they were right or wrong. To do this, the XYZ Incorporated supplied data server rack that the Ethernet lines all connected to also needed an ISDN line. If you've not heard of ISDN before, no worries, it's basically a dedicated phone line optimized for data. There's plenty more nerd speak in the detail obviously, but that's all we need for story purposes. You'll remember XYZ Incorporated weren't in charge of the entire project, and the ISDN line counted as being part of the building, so it's something that ABC Corporation had to arrange themselves. And like everything else, it has a specification, a location, in the Phase 1 server room where we've been told to install the data server rack, and a due date. Sorry, I gotta go back and whine about ABC Corp's personnel again. I've already told you about their new plant management hire. Obviously, in that case, ABC Corporation was seeking someone really special to bring the new factory online with a bang. I know they succeeded, I heard the thud from here, and they had the budget to match. Unfortunately, they hadn't been able to be quite so picky in the hiring management at their existing local plant. Oh, and the place was also a hotbed of nepotism. Working from home without leave was also rife. So some of the existing employees, in particular those who seemed destined to spend the rest of eternity in lower or middle management, were just awe-inspiring in their apparent inability to do any work more challenging than holding down the floor. IT was run by one such an individual, who also had a truly jaw-dropping lack of self-awareness. Department second in command was pretty much a carbon copy, as was the one other tech I personally dealt with. If there was any qualification test at all to work there, I can only assume its main feature was the ability to recognize a PC without being prompted. Extra points and earmarked for fast-track promotion if you knew that a laptop is better. Of course, it's unfair to characterize the capabilities of an entire department. There were about 6 or 7 IT folks in total based on just the head honcho, deputy and chief tech. I only visited the actual IT office a couple of times, and I'm not sure they were all sentient at the time, so maybe just to draw a veil over it and hope for the best. Anyway, ABC Corp's occasionally present local IT manager, henceforth known as F** quit about town, as well as being somebody's offspring, was put in charge of all IT infrastructure etc. at the new factory. And if all goes well, they're lined up for the cushy job of heading the IT department at the shiny new place. On the subject of things going well, so many things have already been totally F***ed up that About Town has by now been given specific written instructions to do/check every single thing personally. So arranging the ISDN line is their job. One of my many jobs is to chase them up on it. Repeatedly. We're about a year into the project by this stage, so I know what I'm facing. I've simply scheduled myself to call F** quit About Town every Tuesday and Thursday to check the current status of each individual item on the ever-growing laundry list of IT failure. Take notes for the project documentation and my colleagues, and pass details of anything new that is wrong/overdue or, even more spectacularly wrong and overdue than last time, onto those responsible for billing ABC Corporation. About 2 weeks after the due date for the ISDN line, I'm told it's done, and I can tick it off my list. I will admit to being quite surprised. About a week later, I even get a phone number for it. I pass this startling but welcome news on to the XYZ Incorporated subsidiary building the data server rack. I'll call them XYZ Data from now on, and those doubting Thomases ask me to check if it's really true. They even want me to plug something in at the ABC Corporation end so they can test the data capabilities of their new toy. How could anyone be so untrusting? As it happens, I wasn't planning to be on site for a couple of weeks. I still had other work apart from this project, so I call in a favor and ask one of the XYZ Incorporated techs commissioning some of our other gear to take a few minutes and go up to the Phase 1 server room and do the necessary for our off-site guys at XYZ Data. I pass on the nice clear directions I've been given. The ISDN socket is on the waist height trunking in the server room, right where the XYZ Incorporated rack is supposed to go, and is labeled with both its function and the phone number, and leave the tech to organize with the XYZ Data what time/day best suits them both. A couple of days later, I get a call from our tech to tell me that the test was a bust. They couldn't find the ISDN socket in the advertised location or anywhere else. It's not even a big room, and as yet had basically no equipment in it. I thank our tech for their wasted lunch break and call F*quit about town. I explain the apparent absence of the ISDN line and the time we've lost by our inability to check its functionality with surpassing patience. F*quit about town assures me that the line is tested, and they have done this personally. I express minor reservations as to the strict accuracy of these assertions. After some discussion, I persuade the esteemed head of ABC Corp's IT department to meet with our tech at the server room, so they can personally show an XYZ Incorporated staff member where the blasted thing is. A week goes by, and the F*quit about town has mysteriously blown off 2 meetings with the XYZ Incorporated tech. A couple of days later, I ring ABC Corporation IT department. Hi F*quit about town, just a courtesy call to remind you that you were due to meet with our commissioning tech in the new factory server room 5 minutes ago. Yeah, they canceled on me, some urgent problem with one of your machines. Really? They're standing in the server room waiting for you now. You sure? I'm standing next to them. We'll see you in 10 minutes. About 15 minutes later, there was a cross-town drive involved. F*quit about town arrives to join XYZ Incorporated tech and I. A brief discussion and some pointing at walls ensues, but the ISDN connection remains frustratingly absent. Then, and only then, F*quit about town plays their get-out-of-jail-free card. They have an invoice. An invoice from a phone company, no less. And on this invoice are charges for the installation of an ISDN line at the new factory. Billed to ABC Corporation and signed for by F*quit about town. There is the minor detail that the order was placed after they was told me the thing was already done and tested, but fair's fair. A solid 2 out of 10 for effort. The XYZ Incorporated tech and I exchange a silent glance and agree that the receipt is likely genuine, forging such a thing not being in About Town's known skill set. Motive and opportunity are definitely there, but means is lacking and probably always will be. About Town then reasonably explains that having paid the invoice, they didn't bother to check the work in any way, and just said that they had, because it was obviously all going to be fine. The tension leaves their body, and they bask in the satisfaction of job well done. It's now my turn to explain a few things, not least of which is that, despite F*quit about town having ordered the thing on ABC Corp's account, there isn't any trace of it whatsoever. About Town has literally nothing to show for having spent their employer's money. The server rack will still therefore need a connection to what I'm now referring to as the real world, that place on the other side of the factory fence, ideally using a telecoms line of the contractually specified type. It was at about this point that the XYZ Incorporated commissioning tech decided they needed to go outside for some fresh air. About a week of non-progress later, I am summoned to project manager's office to explain the bill that had resulted from these shenanigans, and the upshot of that conversation was that as far as the ISDN line was concerned, I was to fix it so that XYZ Data were happy and ABC Corporation weren't in breach of contract. F*quit about town was relieved of this particular responsibility, and I was given authority to do the job with ABC Corp's money. Lucky me. Well, I had an invoice for work allegedly done. I had a phone number. And if you tried connecting to that number using suitable hardware, it seemed as though it was a real line, but with no hardwire on the other end. So I rang the phone company's tech support, explaining the situation and my newfound authority. An appointment was duly arranged for a phone company technician to come on site and investigate. A couple of days later, I got a phone call from the technician who'd been allocated the job. Personal service, I like that. They were canceling the appointment and it was a courtesy call to let me know. Why, I asked. So you don't waste time waiting for me when I'm not coming. No, why are you canceling the appointment? Phone company tech then explained that they'd prepared for the visit in advance by testing the line, all okay, and looking up its specs. And from the exchange boxes it was listed as being routed from, they could tell there was no way it could be connected to the building they were meeting me in. Not even the same part of town. So I explained that I was holding paperwork which indicated quite clearly that ABC Corporation had paid for the connection to be in that very building, and that they even had a receipt saying it now was. Phone company tech generously agreed that this was something of an issue, so instead of just closing the ticket, they referred it inwards and upwards to some higher-level phone company tech department and gave me the relevant numbers and contact details. It took a couple more days to get the whole story. Apparently, the phone tech assigned the installation job had been unable to find the new factory site for some reason. I don't know why. They had the address, other phone lines had been installed on the same site by the same company, multiple delivery trucks from half a dozen vendors had come directly to site without difficulty after journeys of up to 1,000 miles. I mean, it was the biggest construction site in town, the main building was the size of a football pitch. I dunno, maybe they just weren't from this planet. Anyway, having failed to find the job site, they did what any reasonable person would do in the circumstances. Chose a random phone exchange box somewhere in the local area and ran an ISDN line from that into a convenient nearby building. Tick off the job as complete and move on to the next one. Actually, I'm pretty d*m sure they weren't from this planet. Phone companies' supertechs were at least as dumbfounded by this as I was. Let me say that again just in case it didn't sink in. Phone company took ABC Corp's order for an additional telecoms facility, and their money, and in response, phone company's staff member broke into someone else's building in a different part of town and installed a phone line without the owner's consent. I have, to this day, a mental picture of a British copper collaring a criminal with the immortal line, "I'm arresting you on suspicion of installing a phone line without consent. You do not have to say anything, but anything you do say may be taken down and used in evidence against you. If you'll just step this way." It just won't go away, it's still there when I shut my eyes. So we discussed ABC Corp's options. What I wanted was the line disconnected from wherever it was, and reconnected in the server room at ABC Corp's new factory. Don't care if it's the same number or gets a new one. Sadly, that wasn't an option. At least disconnection wasn't. That needed additional permissions. But ABC Corporation are paying for the line, and they've given me authority on this? I can fax that through again. Yeah, we accept that, but it's not in their building, and we need the building owner's consent to remove a data line. Which building is it? Where? The line isn't supposed to be there anyway, surely we can just tell them. Oh, we can't tell you where the connection is if it's not on ABC Corp's site. That'd be a breach of customer confidentiality. Do they know they have an ISDN line? Probably not. So tell them about it and ask for permission to remove it. Oh no, we can't do that. It's against phone company policy to recommend that a customer disconnects a billable service. But the service isn't used, and the bills for it go to ABC Corporation, who are prepared to pay for an ISDN line going to the right place that they can actually use. Rules are rules. We aren't allowed to do that, and we can't tell you where the line is connected either. In the end, I bowed to the inevitable and ordered a new ISDN line for the new factory using ABC Corp's money. I also recommended that they stop paying bills on the original one and demand a refund on the installation, but I've no idea if anyone ever took notice of that. Did this particular debacle affect F*Quittabowtown's chances of getting the cushy new job? Probably not. They were likely still seen as the best of the available internal candidates, and all they'd ever done here was claim to have personally tested something that didn't actually exist. Barely worth mentioning in the wacky world of ABC Corporation. The end. You thought I'd forgotten that special appearance by the server rack, didn't you? A couple of weeks later, the data server rack arrived from XYZ Data. The new factory was laid out like a lot of big modern plants' production machines in great cavernous halls with plenty of room to swing a forklift, a 3-story office block tucked away on one side for the ancillary departments and production offices, and the like spread around the machinery halls, as near possible to what they controlled. So the server room was on a mezzanine floor attached to the wall between material processing and Phase 1 production. At this point, I need to introduce Site Manager. Because of the way this place was being built in phases, with facilities and machinery being installed as soon as their part of the building was done, ABC Corporation had to contract an OHS specialist to control the site for them. Site Manager had no interest in whether the factory worked to spec or even ever produced anything at all. Their job was to make sure that the commissioning techs weren't run over by a forklift driver who'd just be blinded by someone welding steelwork or similar. And when Phase 1 started operations, to make sure that those were kept separate from construction, installation and commissioning of Phases 2 and 3. If you wanted to do something, anything, on site, you needed Site Manager's say-so. If whatever it was your speciality, or had been done before, then it was simply a question making sure you had clear space to work in, kind of like air traffic keeping planes apart in the sky. If you want to do something new, Site Manager will be checking your plan versus OHS rules to make sure they're happy. Site Manager's word on this is final. Site Manager was great to deal with and knew their stuff. And they were insured up to the hilt. So I drop a line to Site Manager saying this thing has arrived, where to find it, and could they have a forklift put it up on the mezzanine please? No hurry, any time this week will be fine. Thanks. A couple of days later, I get an email back saying the server rack is now on the right floor, but Site Manager can see a potential problem. They'll be happy to show me the cause of their concern next time I'm on site. So I thank them again and arrange to meet. Standing next to server rack on the mezzanine landing outside the server room, the problem is obvious. The rack won't go through the server room door, it's too tall. The rack is a standard 19-inch job. They do come in various heights, but this one is what we'd been expecting, just under 2 meters, 6 foot, and a couple of inches, I don't remember the exact number. Close inspection of the door, on the other hand, shows that it's quite a bit shorter than normal. Most people can walk through it without stooping, but not all. There's no apparent reason for this. The ceiling on both sides of the wall is a good 12 feet, say 4 meters, up. It smells distinctly like a project manager special. So I give XYZ Data a call. Once I've persuaded them that it isn't April Fool's, they agree that it'll be okay to tip the server rack over on its back, roll it through the door on a trolley, and stand it up again. Just check all the screws and connections look solid before doing it. Unfortunately, Site Manager doesn't like this. We can maybe use the forklift to put the thing back down at ground level, lie it down there, and then lift it back up to the mezzanine again. But once it's through the doorway, there's no way the forklift, or any other mechanical handling gear, can reach in there to stand it up again. And it weighs too much for Site Manager to allow 1 or even 2 people to do it by hand. Either the doorway has to change, the server be put somewhere else, not happening, or we're going to have to put some mechanical handling gear up on the mezzanine to do the job. And that equipment not only has to be able to be lifted up there by the forklift, it also has to be able to fit through the problem doorway. There isn't anything suitable currently in use on site, so it'll need to be hired in specially. And when the equipment hire company were told that the first thing we planned going to do with their kit was load it on a forklift and put it on a mezzanine that presently lacked guard rails, they immediately added extra insurance. Combined total is just into 4 figures. To move a server rack through a doorway into the room it was designed for. Time to present project manager with the options. Rebuilding the doorway so that standard issue server racks and moderately tall people can get in and out of the server room without being scalped strikes both site manager and I as best, but it's not our decision. Now, before you ask, it had been suggested that the pre-wired and fully tested rack could be disassembled, carried through the doorway in pieces, and put back together again. But the XYZ data weren't very pro anyone, even from another subsidiary, messing with the hardware they'd supplied. And our commissioning techs on site weren't exactly short of their own work to do either. Also, ABC Corporation didn't want to pay the bill for the extra labor to actually do this. Then Project Manager announced that ABC Corp's IT department would do the disassembly/reassembly, at only modest cost to XYZ Incorporated. I think it was while I was declining this kind offer that the XYZ Incorporated Tech, the same one who'd previously looked for the ISDN line with me, experienced straight-face retention issues, and had to leave the building for further supplies of fresh air. Cue a rant from Project Manager about how ridiculous it was that they were constantly being forced to change their project decisions by XYZ Incorporated. And when we weren't doing that, we handing out bills for stuff of theirs we were changing for them. Didn't us peasants understand that Project Manager was in charge? With hindsight, I think I'll now have to admit that it is just possible that why not try getting something right for AF*King change was maybe not the most helpful thing to say at this point. Whatever. It was duly decreed from on high, Project Manager, that the doorway would not change, temporarily or otherwise, and the server rack would just have to get in the room somehow. Well, the contract says the data server should be in the nice air-conditioned server room. So does common sense. And if the door can't be made to fit, we'll have to go with site manager's plan. I give them a heads up. No problem, says site manager, and agrees to make preliminary arrangements. Obviously, to confirm the bookings, they'll need to know who's picking up the tab for this. Will it be XYZ Incorporated? No. We wrote the contract, remember? And the data collection system has its own section in there. By a curious coincidence, in addition to saying what it does, and the connections and power feeds it needs, that section just happens to define the size and weight of the equipment XYZ data would be supplying, and the minimum height and width of the path required to get it from the loading dock to the server room. Path to be kept clear for the lifetime of the factory, just in case XYZ Incorporated need to swap the rack for another one sometime down the line. We liked writing stuff down. We were good at that sh*t. What do you want? Just a bit of paperwork, Project Manager. This is a change note for ABC Corporation. To confirm the alteration to contract spec with the smaller server room door. Sign here. FX, scratchy pen noises. And this is the purchase order instructing site manager to hire in equipment and people to move the XYZ data rack through the revised door horizontally, and then stand it up again in compliance with OHS. At ABC Corp's expense. Sign here and here. Kicker, the forklift and other equipment doing the job was going to wind up in just about everybody's way for a couple of hours, as well as not be being available for other work. So the move was scheduled to actually happen late one Friday night when most crews were long gone. Now, I'm not insinuating anything, but the rack could actually have been tipped over and carried through the door fairly easily by say 4 or 5 people, even if OHS didn't like it. And 1,000 split 4 ways is more than decent beer money for the rest of the weekend. Kicker 2, guess what size ABC Corporation had chosen for their own server racks? How dare you give me free cancer? Hello. So this is my very first story I have ever posted here, and if I have done anything wrong in the storytelling, please let me know. I have been working in IT customer service for some years now, and I have had my fair share of crazy and stupid people. This story is from a couple of years ago in 2014. I was working for my country's biggest ISP as a customer tech supporter. I was mainly helping people with wired internet, fiber optics and copper cable, as well as home phones and TV. The company gives a free router to almost all our internet customers that even has a Thunder warranty. Before the company had that deal, the customers got a simple modem. This will become important later. So I was there answering the phone to one lady late at a Friday night about 18:30 o'clock. Me, hello. My name is OP, how can I help you? Lady, about time. Do you know how long I have been in queue? Why is the queue so long? Don't you have enough staff, or are you all just lazy? She was one of those. I did a mental size and mustered my regular nice service voice. Note, she had this very obnoxious tone in her voice, and we very rude. Me, I apologize about the queue time. There has been a major disturbance at a station, so a lot of people are calling in at the moment. But how may I was interrupted. Lady, I don't care about your excuses. My internet is incredibly slow and my phone has this annoying scraping sound in it. It has been this way since 3 months ago. Why haven't you done anything about it? Me, I understand. I am sorry that you have experienced a slow internet connection for some time, but it's important to let us know about that sooner so we can help you. Let me just run a few analytics. The analysis showed a diversion in the cable, a problem that commonly is caused by units connected home at the customer. I proceeded to tell her, the analytics show me a problem that causes your experienced problem. I need to run a few tests to find exactly where this problem is. Lady, she huffs. Well, okay, I can wait, but make it quick, I don't have all day. And staying in a call like this makes me feel sick. Me thinking, wait. Sick. Me, how nice of you to help. Together we can locate and fix the problem, I am sure of it. I need you to pull out all of your units from the internet sockets, so I can run the same analysis again to see if I get a different result. But before we do that, I need to borrow your mobile phone number, so we can proceed the call from there. Reluctantly and ranting under her breath, she gave me her number, and we proceeded the call over the MB. She pulled out all the stuff, and the troubleshooting showed that her old modem was the cause of the problem. I explained to her that she needed a new one, and that it's no longer in stock, because at the time that modem was over 7 years old. Lady, what do you mean it's not in stock? I want a new one now. Me, it means that the modem has expired from our stock, it is no longer available, but we have another free product that we can give to you in its stead. Lady, fine, I sure hope you can send it to me so I have it by tomorrow. Me, I am afraid that sending this new product to you in such a short notice is impossible due to how the postal service operates. But it will come to the nearest postal service location within 2 to 3 workdays. Well, now she became out of nowhere really mad. She proceeded to loudly yell at me. Lady, I know you will send it to me, to my mailbox by tomorrow, not to the postal service office. I don't care how you do it, and I expect not to having to pay anything. This is the least thing you can do for me after making me having to endure such a bad internet connection for 3 months and having me call you and wait in a queue for 30 minutes. Then do your work so we can find the problem. You will make what's necessary so that I can have it by tomorrow. At this point, getting quite upset, having her attitude showed in my ear for now about 20 minutes, and now she starts screaming at the person helping her. Me really trying to sound nice, miss, as I said, that is impossible, and we cannot know if your internet is behaving if we never get a notice from you who uses the internet. I can send. Interrupted again. Lady, I said I don't care how you make it work. Just make it work. Me, that is impossible. I would send it to your mailbox, so you would get it by tomorrow if I could. You live approximately 400 kilometers from our storage facility, where the product is sent from, and it's Friday 19-something o'clock now. You can expect your package to the nearest postal service location next Tuesday or Wednesday. Lady, what? So I will have to wait 4 to 5 days for it? This is the worst service ever. Company has such a bad customer service. Company actually has the country's best customer service and best wait time for issue resolvement. Me at the moment had enough of her banshee screeching. Yes. You will have to wait for the package to be delivered. Lady, ugh. Went silent for about 5s, I guess we will get nowhere with that. Me, no, I am sorry that you will have to wait. But I assure you that the new product will solve your problem. Lady, somehow now calm, what exactly is this new product? Me, quite confused by her complete 180, yo. It's a router that company gives away for free to all-out internet customers as a free rental product. Lady, again screaming but now completely livid, what? You're sending me a router? How dare you? Don't you know how dangerous those things are? I am allergic to radio signals. Me quite stunned by the next 720 turn in the conversation again, Well, if you're feeling uncomfortable with the Wi-Fi running, I can turn it up for you. Lady, even more angry. How that by this point is even possible, why you have control over my router? Me, well technically it's not your router, you borrow it during the time you have interrupted. Lady, those things are dangerous and deadly, how can companies send out those things for free when you know how dangerous they are? Do you want people to get cancer? Me, lady. I assure you that our router meets the European standard Wi-Fi regulation, silence except for breathing. Me, the Wi-Fi signal emitted by interrupted. Lady, Wi-Fi is cancer, and cause all manners of sickness. Young boy, I am educated and I know a lot more than you about these things, I have been researching this. Me, now quite fed up with her BS and no longer gives one F, oh, if you have knowledge about this. Then you should know that the radio signal emitted by our router is at standard 2.4 GHz, and that radio signal is non-ionizing. Meaning that the radio signal does not carry enough energy to excite the electrons in the molecules that builds your DNA enough be flung away from the molecule and damage your DNA structure to cause cellular damage. This signal cannot cause cancer. Lady, you lie. She did not try to correct me, and I want you not to send me that poison box, you will have to send me a modem instead. Me, I'm afraid I can't do that. What I just offered you for free as a solution to your problem is what we hand out. If you do not want it, you can feel free to buy your own product from anywhere. Just note that if you do, company has no support over the product you have bought outside our company as a solution not provided by the ISP to a problem that could have been fixed with company products. Lady, so you are now forcing me to buy a product at another company to have my internet work? Me, Noon is forcing you, you could have our router for free, and let me turn off the Wi-Fi. But you denied it and want a product that is no longer available. Lady, I will make you the headline of the newspaper, I will report you to the police for fraud and have you fired. You are giving away cancer for free. What is your name? I gave her my name at the start of the call, but I guess she forgot. Me, I do not feel comfortable telling you my name. But you can call me Robert, far from my actual name. Lady, do the people at company know who Robert is? Me, no. Lady, WH. What? What? Me, if you want us to send you the free product to solve your problem, feel free to call us again. Lady, NOI, click. I think the call duration was about 45 minutes in total, and during the time she always complained about something. It was me, the company, the service, our methods of work and our systems. After the call I told my boss what had happened and she was supportive and told me that I should have hung up sooner than I did, and was proud of me for trying to help that nasty customer. She told me that she have overheard some of it, and that I did it good. If you want me to post more juicy tales from tech support stories, I have a couple of more in storage. Just let me know, smiley face.